This is bad movie fights versus good movie fights. A good movie fight should have stakes, clarity, and editing that best serves the action. Anything with shaky cam is a major no-no. Anything with choppy editing to cover up actors who cannot fight is a major no-no. And remember, no gunfights allowed. So, let's do this. Let's start off with a good fight. Wow. This is the scene from the film Fight Club. Okay, so how do you go about making a fight scene unique? I mean, pretty much everything has been done in movies. Swords, guns, bar fights, underwater fights, kung fu. Well, David Fincher found a solution. Two different characters fighting each other. But they're not two different characters. Because, spoiler alert, our unreliable narrator played by Edward Norton is actually Brad Pitt.
Because we're the same person. That's right.
Fight Club is undoubtedly one of the greatest films ever made. When it was first released, it was considered a box office flop. $63 million budget, $100 million box office. Nowadays, this movie would never be made. A psychological drama about the deconstruction of the male psyche for $63 million. But years on, and even at the same time, it was considered a cult classic. This fight is masterfully strung together by Fincher. He's like a conductor at the London Philharmonic Orchestra. First of all, the cinematography is simply gorgeous, choosing to play in the shadows. Secondly, Fincher is not an action director. He is a visual director, using tight and taut framing to exude his narrative poignancy. Look at these little insert shots. So precise, so quick, but they have a narrative within them, and something that most directors will stray away from, as it doesn't keep the rhythm of the fight in flow. But ultimately, these little moments serve the scene even better, as they make it more visceral. And this is brilliant. As Pitt looks in the mirror at his scars, it says so much about his character, but also so much about the movie's theme itself, the futility of beauty, the impotency of materialism.
I'd flip through catalogs and wonder, what kind of dining set defines me as a person?
Again, another masterstroke of genius direction from Fincher. Most importantly is the haunting score by Trent Reznor of 9 Inch Nails. The absolute horror of fighting your own demons and it being an inescapable nightmare. Speaking of inescapable nightmares, I shudder to think of any reason why movie makers would embark upon an enviable task. Why this movie was ever made is a paradox wrapped in a circle of dark intrigue. Red Sonja was released this year, and it's fair to say no one is watching it. Apart from the hate watchers.
Oh, really? That feels odd to me.
But let's stray away from the typical critique this movie is receiving, and let's drive more specifically into a scene. Because for everything that the scene in Fight Club is, this scene is not. The music is intrusive and adds nothing. The grunting from the characters is so much more than just distracting. It makes you want to tear your eardrums to pieces with a cheese grater and sprinkle them on the worst made movie souffle ever. And what was one of our most principal rules at the beginning of this video?
Do not talk about Fight Club.
No, wrong, Brad.
Anything with choppy editing to cover up actors who can't fight is a major no-no.
Correct. AI voice thing. Now, this rule isn't in place as some sort of ego ritual or in place to be pedantic. And with this scene, you can thoroughly see why. It's a confusing mess the human eye simply isn't equipped to deal with the speed of the editing here, which means that it's not long before the geography of the scene is completely ruined and both our characters become less and less important. Meaning you care less and less for their goals. Now, goals in a fight scene, or any other scene in a movie for that matter, are crucial. I would say more than most elements in a movie, a fight scene and their goals are even more interlinked. What does this character want from this moment? And will this character be a hurdle towards it? Or what does this character want from this character? Well, the character of Sentry in the movie Thunderbolts is the most interesting character, and also the movie's worst character. Because in the comic book lore, he should be an unbeatable character, of whom these other characters in this scene have zero chance of beating. But this movie chose to use this unbeatable character against, again, characters that are of no match to him at all. But then they neuter him by having him be rather simple.
Oh no. Hi. I'm Bob.
And that takes this movie fight scene, which is actually pretty damn good, from being an 8 to a 6. You see, stakes are so important when watching a scene. This one-take, fast-paced, composed fight scene feels wonderful on the surface, but if you've watched the movie, you'll know that it gets undercut by where the character goes narratively. And that is a key element of juggling movie fights, because do we judge them as a separate entity? This fight from the recent Gareth Evans movie, Havoc, is a pure joy to watch. And rightly so, coming from the director of the Raid movies. But it's also a confusing mess of a movie that doesn't hit the Mount Everest heights of his previous repertoire of work. Whereas this fight, which is nowhere technically as brilliant, but does serve more of a purpose in a movie that is infinitely better. So do we say that the second fight is better than the first because it served a better purpose for what it needed? Well, if we were to be judging both movies in totality, then yes. But if we were to, for example, say that this fight is fast-paced, visually stunning, and shows off what a technical master that Zack Snyder is, well, then that would be a wholly accurate statement. It simply is. Snyder is an incredibly proficient technical director. He could easily be a cinematographer in his own rights, such as his knowledge of filmmaking. However, the flip side of the coin would be, how does this fight compare to it? This is the 2025 movie Superman, directed by James Gunn. Now, don't get it twisted, James Gunn knows how to direct and shoot an action scene. Whether or not you think he perhaps relies or over-relies too heavily on needle drops within these fights is wholly subjective. I would say that from a technical standpoint, his over-reliance on style over substance from a music standpoint does undercut the drama of his fight scenes, making them less visceral. And in this scene, we have an evident example of that. This is Mr. Terrific versus, well, some bad guys. And much like our scene from Thunderbolts, is framed as a one-take fight scene. And whilst there's no doubt in that it's fun, in fact, it's the inverse of the Man of Steel fight.
You are weak, son of Hell. Unsure of yourself.
It does, however, have to be said that the drama is undercut by the needle drop and by the drops of comedy that Gunn has sprinkled into the scene. And ultimately, that is Gunn's style, and it's neither good nor bad. The fight scene isn't particularly integral to the plot, so it doesn't need to have much gravitas. So how does Gunn handle a fight scene that is integral to the plot then?
I know when they mention Galileo or Einstein or one of these other twits in the same breath as me,
Well, he uses dialogue.
It burned the back of my throat, but at least
A lot of dialogue.
Dope Evolution catapult
Which works for sure.
hope for humanity because it is
It's a cheat code of sorts. But it does, unfortunately, undercut how we should feel about the characters and the situation, with characters telling us how they feel about the situation. But it does do what it needs to do. And here Gunn chooses not to use a needle drop, instead playing with the well-known Superman theme tune. And much like our first scene in this video, we have a character fighting against themselves, but to the lead character's better end result. Whether or not you think Man of Steel is a better movie than Superman 2025, or vice versa, is wholly irrelevant. Both do what they need to do for the themes of their respective movies. What do I think? Well, check out some of the videos on my channel for the answer. In the meantime, which of the fights from this video did you think was the best? And which good or bad movie fight should I cover in the next video? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't caught on yet, I'm doing a series of videos focusing in on individual movie action stars, ranking them and deciding who's the best. A link to one of them will be popping up at the end of this video, so please do have a watch and hit the like button, do subscribe. Aside from that, 2025 has seen some really great movie fights and some really strange ones too. But it feels like a revival to the age of fun movies in the 90s and the 80s. But what do you think? And what's been your favorite movie of 2025? Let me know. And until we speak again, big love.